and welcome to Petrol Ped. It's not even 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm in the car. I'm working away this week and I thought I've got quite a few miles to drive this week. I thought it'd be fun to take the Mach-E. It's electric, isn't it? And everyone says, oh, you can't use an electric car for, long journeys and weeks when you're not sure where you're going to park. Well, I am today, but it's so dark, look, you can't even see me. Let me get on my way. As soon as it gets light, I'll tell you more about the week ahead. Oh, right. I think I've got enough daylight to do a bit to camera. So yeah, morning everyone. Another early start. I've had a lot of early starts. So I am off to Cheltenham again. I am doing my proper job again this week. Lots of demand for me, clearly. Last time I was in the MSRT Ford Ranger. Hopefully you've seen that video. If not, I'll put a card above. This week, I thought I'd bring the Mach-E. And the really interesting thing is I haven't driven the Mach-E a huge amount in the last few weeks. Mrs. Petrol Ped's mainly been driving it. And if you follow me on social, if not, I'll put the links below, make sure you do. I had an amusing thing at the weekend because I'd asked Tracy what she thought of the car and she's like, oh, it's a bit fast, the throttle's a bit sharp and the range isn't very good. And I'm thinking, well, I know it's quite a quick car. Anyway, I get in the car at the weekend to drive it, start driving it down the road and realise it's in untamed mode. So it turns out this car remembers your drive mode each time you get in it. So if you stick it in untamed mode and don't change it, it just stays in untamed mode. So yeah, she'll be driving it in untamed mode. So that means that the predicted range on a full charge is probably assuming you're in untamed mode. So when I got in it this morning, I'd had it on my Zappy wall box overnight, 100% charge, and it had a stated range of 252 miles. Now, that is easily sufficient for me today. I've got about 105 miles to get to Cheltenham, and then I'm staying with my friends again with the Model Y, and it's about 40 odd miles to their house, so it's plenty today. The interesting thing though tonight though, I'm pretty sure that Andrew's wall box has failed, so he's getting it fixed tomorrow, so I might not be able to charge overnight. So I've got to actually get to Cheltenham to Stratford, Stratford to Cheltenham, and then Cheltenham back to Stratford all on one charge. So that should be quite a good test. And if I can't do that, I'm going to have to jump into a public charging stop, which isn't the end of the world. So I'm in traffic. I've engaged the autopilot-y type thing. I shouldn't call it autopilot. Tesla people are going to hate me for that. Active cruise control with basically level 2 autonomous driving. Look, I can take my hands off the steering wheel if I want, and the car's quite happy to steer me in lane, keep that pace between me and the car in front. Still no hands on the steering wheel, no feet on the pedals. And eventually it kind of says, oh, hold on a minute, there we go, keep your hands back on the steering wheel. What I thought I'd do, because I'm just sat in traffic, is I'm going to stick it into the efficiency mode. So I just wanted to show you how easy it is to do with the big screen. So there's a little button up there with a Mustang on it, you do that. You've got 3 modes, Whisper, Active and Untamed. I'm currently in Active. I'm just going to hit Whisper, hit the little car, and that's me, that's the mode change. So I think sometimes people say about these big screens and how distracting they are and how difficult they are. For a start, I agree with some vehicles and some menu systems on some manufacturers. I agree they are. This one so far, it's a familiarity thing once you start to understand where the various things are. But generally speaking, it's such a big screen that the buttons are big and they're easy to hit even when you're driving. And if I want to have a look at my air conditioning controls, I just hit that button there and it comes up massive, great big screen, full size. I can change things, I can hit, fan in my face or auto or whatever it might be. And then when I finish, I just push that button again and it just disappears. So it's not that difficult. So we're off the dual carriageway. We've only got about 7 miles to go. I wanted to just have a chat. So I'm in Whisper mode, and I have to say, in terms of driving response, it's not that bad. Sometimes when you get in the efficiency mode in an EV, the throttle deadens off so much, it's not a particularly pleasant place to to sit and to drive, but this isn't too bad at all. Now, my miles per kilowatt hour is still very stubbornly staying around 2.7, which I don't think is great. And I'm hoping that over this week, if I'm driving sensibly, we can start to get that up, because that really should be north of 3, right? I mean, you know, if I think when I had the Cooper Born, that was in the high 3 point somethings. Just an update on range. I've got 57% of battery left, 133 miles. So I'm certainly going to be able to get back to my friend's house this evening. Whether or not I can then get back to Cheltenham tomorrow morning and then back to their house, I doubt it. I think I'm going to have to plug in somewhere. End of a working day. Whoop, whoop. 1 down, 4 to go. So, off we go. Now, I've got to go and pick up my mate Andrew from Farncombe, where he works, and that's only 22 miles from here, and then from there we're going on to his house in Stratford, because his car has been in for service today. So what have I got? 56% of battery, 131 miles of range, apparently. So, let's see. Let's see how we get on, because I don't think I can charge up tonight at Andrew's, and I've certainly got enough range, I think, to get to his and get to work tomorrow, and then I'll work it out from there, I think. It should be all right. I'm in whisper mode after all. Picked up Andrew, he's there, he's like, don't get me on camera. But we're on our way to yours, are we not? You quite like the interior of the old Mach-E?
Yeah, very much. Like the noise it makes when you accelerate. Sounds like a dull V8.
Amazingly, because this is like a downhill route, I'm currently doing 10.4 miles per kilowatt hour after 8 miles. That's pretty good.
And the door hasn't fell off. So.
You can't say that. There's no fart machine though, dude.
No.
This is not good.
No.
So anyway,
lacking in the toy department.
So yeah, 107 miles still. So we might well put it on the 3-pin granny charger tonight, just as a safety blanket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
We're going to go home for Chinese and beer.
Yeah. If we survive.
If the door doesn't fall off. Morning, guys. Oh, well, a couple of things. Last night there was a biblical thunderstorm. I mean, it was really, really full on. But there is a mantra when you have an EV, and that is ABC, always be charging. So even though Andrew's 7 kilowatt charger has actually got a fault on it at the moment, it's not getting fixed until tomorrow, he still has a 3-pin granny charger. So he put the Mustang on the granny charger last night just to give it some juice. And interestingly, it's actually got 62 miles put in it overnight, because the granny 3-pin chargers only charge at like 2 kilowatts. So they are pretty slow, but well worth doing. But that has helped me now. So we've now got 66% of battery, 158 miles of range. And that just helps us out a little bit more. So what that basically means for me in terms of today is I can drive to Cheltenham today, I can do a day's work, and I can drive back and not really have to worry about charging. I could then put some more juice on a trickle charger tomorrow. This evening. I have found an Instavolt charger on the journey, on the way in and out, so worst case scenario, what I'll do is I can drop into an Instavolt. It's 105 kilowatts, I think. It's just connect the car for 20 minutes, half an hour, just to give it a little bit more battery. And then by Wednesday of this week, that charger, the 7 kilowatt charger, will be fixed. And that means that on Thursday night, which is the night before I have to drive home, I can give the car a full charge, and it's absolutely no worries at all. And I think for me, that is why I wanted to bring this car this week. The mix was thrown in a little bit in that where I'm staying, Andrew's charger wasn't working because he has a Tesla Model Y, so he's normally got his own charger at home, but it faulted last week. Now, clearly, if you aren't staying somewhere that has a home wall box, you are going to have to use a 3-pin charger, and the car was on charge about 10 hours, I think. We put it on charge last night about 8 o'clock. It's now 7:30 in the morning. So it's had a good amount of charge in it. That's probably not 10 hours. I've got to do my maths actually. And that's 60 odd miles. So I don't think that's too bad. What I would say though is if you own an EV, you are not going to get by with just a 3-pin wall charger. It's just too painful, and especially bigger cars with bigger battery packs, they just take so long to charge on a 3-pin charger that it just doesn't become practical if you want to do lots of journeys and lots of driving. If you add something like a plug-in hybrid, now interestingly, Andrew's wife Cecile has an Audi A3 plug-in hybrid, and that on a 3-pin granny charger, absolutely perfect. But if you've got a full BEV, you really do need a proper wall box. Another day, another dollar earned on my way home. I've decided on purpose not to try and find a charger on the way home tonight. I've still got 100 miles of range, and I figure that I can stick it on the 3-pin granny charger tonight, and then if really need be, I can do a kind of splash and dash tomorrow. Because the premise I'm going for this is, whenever I do a long-range test on an EV normally, the emphasis is around public charging infrastructure, and everyone's like, oh, it's rubbish and there's not enough chargers. Well, actually the truth is, if you've got charging at home or wherever you're staying, which I happen to be staying at a friend's house, they've got a charger, or if you're staying at most hotels nowadays, if you're staying away, they'll have a charger you can plug your car in overnight. Actually, you can often just get by with that. You don't need to visit public charging infrastructure. So we don't need the same number of electric car charge ports in public charging infrastructure as we have petrol pumps, because last time I checked, none of us had petrol pumps at home. But with electric a car charger at home, you can wake up with a full tank of gas every morning. So I may well be able to get through this week without actually visiting a public charge port. I know I can. I know where one is. There's one on my route. My route's only like 35 miles each day, each way. And there's 2 or 3 I could visit. They're all in excess of 50 kilowatts. There's a couple of 100 kilowatt and above chargers. And if I went to one of them right now, I've got 42% charge. 20 minutes would give me, enough extra miles to not worry about things and then just plug onto Andrew's charger when it gets fixed. So that's the kind of premise of this week, is I'd like to try and get through it without actually having to use public charge infrastructure, because I think that actually is an interesting spin on living with an EV for a week or doing a long journey. Is if you've got a charger at home and wherever you're staying has one, you don't need to go to public charge infrastructure. Just a thought. Morning all. Just one update today, Wednesday morning. So interestingly, we got the car home earlier last night, so I had it on charge for just shy of 14 hours. And that added 78 miles. It was charging at about 5 miles an hour. And interestingly, for my commute that I'm doing this week, that is just about enough to cover the miles there and back. Because although it's 30 something miles, what have I got, 35 miles there, it's actually takes a lot less energy coming back than it does going there. So you could probably survive pretty much on a 3-pin granny charger if this was your commute, sort of 70 miles. I don't think the long-term sustainability of living with an EV on a 3-pin granny charger, that's really not an option. You really do need to get a 7 kilowatt wall box. But it's been really interesting. So I've now got 70% of battery and 170 miles of range. Happy days. And Andrew's wall box gets fixed today, so we've got the ability to stick it on 7 kilowatts and it will charge much more quickly and much more efficiently. Last couple of things, just briefly while I'm talking to you this morning. A few comments since I picked this car up about the ride quality, and people want to know about what the ride quality is like. And I thought I'd do this piece to camera down this road because it's particularly bumpy, and you will probably tell by the way I'm bumping around and moving around, this car is pretty firmly sprung, to be honest. It's not a great deal different to the Ford Ranger that I've got, and that's really, really bouncy. So it is a fairly jittery, bumpy ride. It's not something that would wind me up, if I'm honest, because I'm used to a firm ride with things like the Minis I've had. They've always been pretty firm. But it is quite bumpy, and I can see if you get in this car from the outside, you'd expect it, because of its size and the kind of SUV style, the compact SUV style, you'd expect, I think, quite a plush, smooth ride, and that's actually not quite what you get. Now, it's now Wednesday afternoon, early evening. I'm very unprepared. I'm actually doing this on my iPhone, but I'm at Cafe and Machine. Now, if you know, last time I was here with the Ranger, this is literally 5 miles from where I was staying, and I was actually going to come here for dinner tonight with Andrew and Cecile, but there was an event on. There's a Japanese car club or car event, themed event, and it was sold out. We couldn't get tickets. And then I saw a tweet or an Instagram post this morning from Cafe and Machine saying that was here. Now, I mentioned this in a midweek 180 a couple of weeks ago. It is a stunning, stunning thing. So I thought it would be rude of me not to pop in quickly, have a chat with the Hyundai press team, because I'm also just about to organise getting a Kona N to play with, because I really want to play with one of those. But let's have a quick look around this. Now, apologies for the noise of the road in the back, but I just want to walk around this car because it's just... So this is a model. They do have working ones of these, but this is basically a clay model. It's just such a cool looking thing. Now, at the moment, as a concept, this is an electric hydrogen fuel cell powertrain. So if they were to make this, whether it ended up being a hydrogen fuel cell powertrain is debatable. We're not sure. There's loads of cool Japanese stuff coming in at the moment. But just walk around. It's a cool looking thing. And in the flesh, I mean, it looks awesome in the pictures. And it's one of the coolest cars, I think, to have been released by any manufacturer in the last few years. I just think it's a brilliant looking thing. And those wheels, they're just so they're like the Monte Carlo rally wheels that you'd see on the car. Just what a thing. And then over here, this is this is a clay model. It's amazing. The bottom half of that car is clay, but this is obviously the Onyx 6, but this is a kind of race car TCR style concept. But what a thing that is. Absolutely wicked. So I'm dead chuffed that I turned up today to have a look. But morning all. Now what are we? Thursday morning. I have to say, I'm still thinking about that awesome pair of Hyundais at Cafe and Machine last night. That M Vision 74 is just so cool, and there's lots of you made comments on my social overnight from the pictures I put up. It's a wicked thing. Anyway, slight change of plan last night, because I had planned, I got home, I had about 100 miles of range left, and I thought, you know what, on Thursday I'm going to try and drive there and back to Cheltenham and back without charging overnight, and just see if I can do it. I know I'll be super low in the range and battery stakes when I get home, but I'll be fine. Anyway, the 7 kilowatt wall box at Andrews was fixed yesterday, and we thought we'd try it out and basically see if it was working okay. So we did actually put the car on the 7 kilowatt charger, but it's a bit like my Zappi at home. It's an Octopus Energy one, and it's able to work out what the best tariffs are. So although we plugged it in probably about 8 o'clock in the evening, maybe a bit earlier actually, we timed the charge so that it was charged during the off-peak tariff, and that meant that we were only paying 4 pence a kilowatt. Now this car's near enough got a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, so that means you could put a full charge into this car for like £4. So we didn't charge it fully. we timed it so that by the time I got in the car this morning, it had 90% of battery, although bizarrely it dropped 2% within the first 100 yards of driving. and 212 miles of range, so loads of range, ample for what we need to do today. And then tonight, what we'll stick it on again and give me a full charge, so that tomorrow I've got to drive into Cheltenham, deliver the last day of the course, and then drive home. So I need to have as much battery as I can, really. But yeah, anyway, so zipping down this little country lane, it's probably worth just having a very quick chat about what this car's like when you want to have a bit of fun. Now, actually, I'm in whisper mode at the moment, which is the efficiency setting, and I have to say, it's still got ample go. Normally, I don't like driving cars in their efficiency setting, whether they're petrol or electric, because they just feel a bit dead and a bit unresponsive. This actually is really good. I'm not so sure how much of an impact it has on efficiency, bearing in mind at 90% of battery and only 220 miles. This car should do best part of 300 miles on a full charge, and at the moment it's nowhere near that, which I find a bit disappointing, because it's not like it's the middle of winter and it's really, really cold. I'd hope this car would easily do 300 miles, but we'll see. In my ownership of the car, I'll try and get that number up a little bit, but certainly driving down this road, it's great. It's a heavy car, you know, and you're aware of that when you tip it into a corner. It is quite heavy. Oh, good morning. Today is an exciting day because it's home day today. I finished today, but we decided we'd put a full charge into this bad boy last night, so 100% battery, but 253 miles of range. Now, I find that interesting and a little bit disappointing, because this is the extended range Mustang. It's meant to have best part of 300 miles apparently, and I've not been driving silly this week at all. I've been in either whisper or active mode, driving pretty sensibly, and I would have thought the car would have got its head around that by now, and that would translate into more range on 100% charge. But 253, that's plenty for what I need to do today. I've got to drive into Cheltenham, finish the course, and then head home. Well, I'm nearly home. A successful week of training and a really good journey back. I'm only 7 miles or so back from home. So what are my findings after my first proper week in the Mach-E? Well, lots of things. I want to just very briefly talk about the big screen, because when I picked up, lots of people went, oh, it's a distraction. Actually, yes, there are lots of settings that you can change on there, but most of them, once you set them once, you never go back into that menu again. And the things you want to use regularly, so the air conditioning controls, they're all available at the bottom. That's super easy. Stereo controls, well, you've either got stereo controls on the steering wheel, or there's a nice big rotational button at the bottom of the screen with a mute button in the middle, so that's dead easy. And then anything you might want to do is hit the little Mustang at the top and change the drive modes, and they're massive buttons and super easy, and then you just push that again and that's it. It is quite a simple thing. I've put it on the dimmed screen so it's not distracting, and actually it's, once you get used to it and once you know where everything is, it's super easy. I tried this week to live with an EV while I'm away, and I know I've been staying with some friends and I've had the opportunity to charge at theirs, but for the first couple of days I was on a 3-pin granny charger, and I found that really interesting. Takeaway from that is, with this vehicle we were getting on average about 5 miles an hour added when you were on a 3-pin granny charger. So as long as the vehicle was on pretty early in the evening, you could get somewhere in the region of, let's say, 70-75 miles added to the range overnight. And if you're only doing a shortish journey each day, that was pretty good. It would have been difficult for me to get it fully charged to come home just on a granny charger, and had the wall box not been fixed and then upgraded to 7 kilowatt, then I would have had to go to public charge infrastructure, but I didn't. I had a couple of good nights charge. In terms of efficiency, last little thing, so that's this trip. We are 141 miles today, but I just want to do the full trip we've done this week, 518 miles. I've averaged 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour, which I don't think is as good as I would have hoped. I would have wanted that to maybe around sort of 3.5. High threes would have been better. But really interesting, I love this graph, shows me where that energy went. So 87% of all the energy I've used this week has gone on actually propelling the car forward with driving, 6% on climate use, 4% on accessories, I'm guessing that's things like charging my phone, and then 3% on external temperature. And it's not been particularly cold this week. In fact, it's been very mild. But all in all, a really interesting one. I would love to know what you think. It's the first time I've really kind of been away in an EV, and I must say I am rapidly falling in love with this Mach-E. I like it a lot. It's a very comfortable place to sit and do lots of miles. The Bang & Olufsen stereo is amazing, especially now I've got it set with the right amount of bass, surround sound. It just sounds brilliant. I've been listening to my music much louder than what I would normally do, just because it sounds so good. But for now, I'm very nearly home. I'm pretty tired. It's been a long week. But I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.